Hello and welcome to the show. This is a Fiat 595. However, it is not an ordinary one. This one is fitted with a 373 horsepower, 442 foot-pounds of torque turbo rally engine. That is an awful lot of power and an awful lot of torque in a car that weighs less than 1,500 pounds. Put it on drag tyres and you get a wheelie car. So we decided to go racing with them, see if we could actually get a race done with wheelie cars. As you can imagine, off the line, many cars had accidents. I think about 5 or 6 cars had rolled before we even crossed the line to start. I got mullered by something else. Yeah, these are challenging cars to drive. I tried to make them as drivable as possible while still being able to wheelie, but they still weren't very drivable whatsoever. The idea being is that to really go quickly with these cars, you've got to be cautious. But in a racing situation, sometimes you see a car you want to try and overtake, and then you go for it, and then you wheelie, and then you rugby tackle said car you were trying to overtake, and then you both tumble around into the wall. Overtaking is very difficult. As you see, I brushed my way past the car stuck on its roof. Yeah, it's very hard because you've got to be cautious. If you want to get these cars around the track without crashing, you have to be cautious because they will wheelie so easily. However, in a racing situation, you sometimes push the car just that little bit more trying to get away, as this blue car does with a huge wheelie and a bounce, and then we go for a spin. And again, it's just the strangest sight. Certainly when you're driving and you look at your rearview mirror and there's just 3 wheeling Fiats around you as some cars miss the corners. It is a bit of a bizarre sight. There are many issues with these cars aside from the wheeling. The brakes are horrible. The brakes are so powerful in this car that when you jump on the brakes, the car nosedives, the back comes up, and then you have no grip and you spin. So you have to be careful under braking. The other thing that they can do, because there is so much power and so much speed in such a small, light car, is you can occasionally get these phantom bounces where the front just starts lifting up, and that's enough to upset the car, and then you go for another really big roll. The blue car was trying to get stopped, but he couldn't get it slowed down in time. As I said, you can't just simply jump on the brakes, as you will nosedive and then go for a spin, so it's very challenging getting the car slowed down. Many vehicles ended up on their roof. As you can probably guess, damage was on cosmetic. A few people forgot to change their assists, but for the most part, damage was on cosmetic for these cars because, you know, pretty much everybody ended up on their roof at some point. Also, drag tyres last about 5 minutes probably, and then they're shot to pieces anyway. The leader tried to put the power down a little bit too much, and he promptly went around in a circle. And it's not just necessarily straight away from first gear. These cars will wheelie in second and third gear. With the turbo rally engine, you have so much torque that you can change from sort of second into third, and then the car can suddenly get a big wheelie, which is what we saw a few times as well. Yeah, dangerous, tricky cars to drive. I had a poor start, was trying to make my way through the order. Actually, look at this. I got a sensible overtake on a car briefly, and then we proceeded to try to go 3 wide, which is not a good idea. One car went exploring, one car on the inside. The tiniest bump was all it took to upset that car to spin him around. These are very sensitive cars. You've got to be very smooth with the steering if you want to make it around a corner. But I did actually get 1 clean overtake in all of that, and we proceeded to make it 3 wide. I go around the outside of everybody to get another 2 clean overtakes, and then instantly throw it all away again. It's I got a bit too carried away. I thought, oh, this is good, and then I went to set off, realised I wheelied and parked myself in the middle of the road, for which I do apologise. I just momentarily forgot when to go to try and get out of the way, and of course, wheelie, no steering, makes a bigger mess. But I could get back past most of the cars that I then lost positions to. It was kind of this constant. You'd make a good manoeuvre. Look at the turquoise car bucking around in the background. Yeah, you'd make a good manoeuvre and then be instantly undone. That time when you try to get on the power just that fraction too soon and do a wheelie. You see the kind of issues we were having under brakes. The cars would squirm about, and as soon as they start squirming, you have to let off the brakes, otherwise you're going to go around in a circle. So you often ended up missing the corners a little bit. The car we're following is trying to make up positions, but the back end will just sort of suddenly let go on you if you aren't too careful. I mean, close racing was possible, but you did have to be careful about when you got that wheelie at the wrong moment. Yeah, blue car spun across in front of the vehicle we were following, and yeah, less than ideal, because once you're up in the air, you can't see, you can't do anything about avoiding them either. I found myself trying to get an overtake and promptly got bumped. Again, the front wheels just picked up that little bit too much. There we go. That's the braking issues that that we can have. I got bounced into the air and then trying to get it all back under control again. I braked a little bit too hard. Back end came round, and yeah, I mean, you lose a bit of ground in doing that, but I try my best to work back through the field. Our Victor was driving the bright purple Fiat. He actually did a really good job of keeping the car under control. This was all about who could stop the car from wheeling best. If you could keep the car under control nicely and not have the car bounce and wheel, it didn't matter if you were going massively fast. If you could stop it from making mistakes and so on, then that would be enough to take victory. You could just pull away so fast from the rest of the field. Higher gears, I think, were the technique that a lot of people were using by the end of this race to try and get the cars to stop wheeling at really, really high gears. Fifth and probably fifth, I think. I don't know if they had a sixth gear on the turbo rallies. Anyway, the car we were following, I think he was sat in about third place, trying to get to the line as quickly as possible. Overdoes it a little bit, and now he's spinning, but he's still wanting to get to the line. He can't really stop the car spinning. Now he's got to try and get going again without having a massive wheelie. Stalls it a little bit, then we get a wheelie in the rush to get going. 3 cars have gone past already, and then we're going to tumble over. Still not quite made it to the finish line. He gets it round. The blue car then comes across and promptly attacks him as he lost another place to the little Tykes car. Then we decided we're going to go in reverse. Reverse is probably the safest option here. The blue car gives him a helpful nudge since he kind of spun him out, and the black Fiat decided that it didn't want to be on its wheels anymore. I'm not quite sure what caused the rollover there at the end. Then the driver tires take control of it, and it all goes wrong, and I had a crash in the background before I crossed the line. But your driver tires don't know what to do with these cars. But there we go. For our second race, unfortunately, the replay for this one buggered up massively. Only one person managed to save it, and on their replay, none of the liveries loaded. So it's all of the white Fiats and one yellow car. Fun. Yeah, the replays were being really glitchy in this filming session, so I'm amazed we actually managed to find a copy of the replay. It's just a shame. Yeah, the liveries are all gone. This race, we fared a bit better. We kind of got the hang of the cars. I say we got the hang of the cars. We got the hang of the cars a little bit more than we had at Yas Marina. Again, the technique on the most part was to stick with a higher gear. Stick with a higher gear to try and stop the cars from wheeling too much. They still would wheelie, and you still had to be aware of the bouncing and the bumping and the sudden oversteer that'll try and kill you. I mean, if you can use the lower gears and not have the car wheelie, of course you're going to be much faster. But you got to try and balance the risk versus reward. And in all honesty, going for the safer option was probably the best way of doing it. You can see how much the cars dive under braking. The vehicle we're following has got one car. Well, I think it's almost got 2 cars up the inside. They go squeezing past. There's quite a lot of close racing on this opening lap. I was surprised when I looked through the replay. I mean, we're going almost 3 wide around the final corner as the cars all go a little bit crazy. Unfortunately, some vehicles would try to push it a little bit too hard. They get spun out. And again, just this little bit more caution was working really, really well for the cars that opted for it. You can see they still lift up. You know, things would still go wrong with them, but you had that little bit more control, perhaps. Again, just kind of watching what was going on behind you with all of the crazy was perhaps the most fun in this one. Just cars constantly spinning out. We get a big wheelie coming out of turn 1 as trying to get up alongside the car there. Yeah, accidents were... I'd say we did a bit better in this one. There were still plenty of slightly scary moments as this group found out cars just sort of spinning around and twisting around. And the other thing that you will often find is that, you know, there'll be a car have an accident in front of you and you wouldn't see it because you were looking up at the sky. The car we're following here pushed his luck too much. Now he's on the grass, and that's a bad place to be. As a couple more cars go wheeling past. As he spins around, he's carrying too much speed, flips over, and then the on-rushing rest of them punch the Fiat all the way down the road for some more rolls. That's yeah, that's quite unfortunate for poor little Fiat, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, as the car in the background is frantically trying to save himself, get off the road, and now we're trying to set off here. And some big wheelies. Problem is, once the car kind of goes up, and there we go over again. Once it goes up on the back, the rear bumper, the exhaust bit sort of catches. It does such big wheelies that it actually twists and kind of falls over completely on its own. Yeah, it's not ideal. This group of cars, they were racing all very closely together. It was good to see. There was, as I said at Yas Marina, there were some actual proper overtakes. They were rare. It was often made up, you know, you often made up places when cars fell off the road or spun and flipped. But that was a proper overtake. Admittedly, the car on the outside ran a little bit wide, but that was a proper racing overtake. With wheeling Fiat, a proper overtake into into turn 1. Yeah, it was possible. You know, it was possible to have some actual close racing in these cars, which was bizarre. It was also possible to have very, very big offs. As I think this might have been my car getting very, very sideways as we came around that final corner. the fast corners like this one here was scary because the car lifts up and something spun across the road. I frantically tried to avoid it. Curbs are nasty. Curbs are nasty. It put my car up into a wheelie and then just tumbled over at really high speed. In the I don't think the car there could actually see very much with the smoke and so on that was going on, and yeah, that's not a good place to be stranded in turn one. I tried my best to avoid a car that was stuck on the outside, but combine wheelie Fiat with curbs and a slight, I think I probably got a slight bounce as well as I went across the curb. It's very easy for it to just launch the car onto its side, roll over. You can see how much, look at the, just all the bunny hops were going on down here. Yeah, I lost a whole stack of places, but I'd go and make them up when people further down the road would have accidents and so on. This one here might be my favourite stunt of the day. So Fiat loses control trying to get the power down, and then we're going to go for a wheelie donut. Yes, a wheelie donut. Keeps his foot down. He's got no control of the steering. Just keep your foot down, and it keeps the front of the car up. And then we're going to go over again. I would have loved it if we could have got it back onto its wheel and carried on with the wheelie donut. But yeah, that's an impressive stunt. So well done for the wheelie donut in that one. Yeah, the Silverstone, as I said, was going a little bit better on the whole racing front. But I mean, these still are very, very difficult cars to drive. And as I said, this was me trying to make the cars easy to drive while still, this was the best I could make them while still being able to wheelie. I mean, there was a brief bit of close racing going on at turn one until a car tried to get on the power too much, twisted it while wheeling, and he went straight across the grass on the inside. There's another one gone round in a circle, and another one straight off the track. You could make up so many positions by just simply not making any mistakes. At the front, it was actually the same car. Okay, the livery hasn't loaded. I believe it was the same car, the same driver that would win both of these races. This one here was a lot closer race, though. I mean, the cars around him, I think, are mostly backmarkers, but it was a closer fought race here at Silverstone, as we got the car going very sideways. Yeah, the cautious, certainly the higher geared approach was the better option. That's what most of us, I think, were probably doing come Silverstone. But yeah, you just can't afford to make mistakes. Yeah, no, the car is going to bounce, the car is going to wheelie no matter what you do with it, as someone goes for many pirouettes into the pit wall. But if you can kind of keep it under control, if you can not have a big roll, not have a big spin, sure, you're going to get the bounce, but yeah, that's what you have to do with these cars, and it worked pretty damn well. On the final lap, well, the race to the line, everybody kind of forgot all of the be cautious thing as they were trying to overtake the car ahead or try and defend from the car behind. So people got a little bit confident, got a little bit brave, and that tends not to really work with wheelie cars. We see much bunny hopping going on from this Fiat, and into the sand trap we go, and now we're going to tumble and roll, and someone finishing in reverse, many cars running wide, and another big bunny hop from that vehicle there, someone else going wide, similar story, he's going to almost finish with a wheelie as well. And the car that we were following does get across the line. Yeah, if you try to boot it across the line, many accidents happened there. And again, it was a similar story further back. We've got a Fiat getting all twitchy. I think with these having such tiny wheelbases, it was very easy. Even if you stopped them from rolling, it was very easy for them to suddenly get very twitchy. As we're having a few issues trying to get to the line. You can see the two cars behind him. And the problem is, once he got himself in trouble once, he kept wanting to go a little bit quicker, and then that kept putting you in trouble some more. And we're going to go round in a circle. Again, the other two cars go past. It's not quite over yet, though, although that's probably going to see the end of it across the grass. Wheelies and grass turns out are not a very good combination. Wheelies and grass are not a good combination whatsoever for these little Fiats. Yeah, plenty of cars. I think you can just about see the yellow car in the distance had a roll going up towards the line, so he boots it trying to get ahead of the cars. Can't quite do it. Too many spins in that final approach. But yeah, there we go. Wheelie car racing is pretty good fun. It's ridiculous. The cars are barely drivable, but surprisingly, we did have some actual proper racing overtakes. And just watching the chaos unfold behind you or in front of you is very amusing. Drive the car sensibly, and you're not too bad. Certainly, if you made the least amount of mistakes, then you could get a decent gap over the field while everybody was tumbling around. It was suitably silly fun, really, with the Fiats. If you want to have a go with this tune, it can be found on my storefront. I think it's called, is it FR Wheelie? I think the tune is, yes it is, FR Wheelie is the name of the tune, so you can download it, have a drive of it yourself, try going racing with these cars. It's a challenge. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. They're certainly a challenge to try and race around a track. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.